Started from the bottom, kept on climbing, perfect timing, looking down from the top. I don't see no opposition from my position. I'm focused. It's the must, I complete the mission. I won't stop, I can't stop. The grind is all I know. I'm focused, I can't stop. The hustle's all I know. I'm hungry, ambitious. My heart is on go. You in the presence of greatness. That's all you need to know.
Hey everybody, welcome back to the Identity Jedi podcast. We've got a great show for you this week. Brent Hamilton swings by the pod. Him and I have a conversation about his journey to CISO. Yes, that coveted C-suite position that everybody's fighting for, the Chief Information Security Officer. Brent and I caught up about a couple of years ago. We met at a dinner and then we've stayed in contact since then. It's an awesome conversation. Really love the things that he's about. I really love his excitement and his passion for the field, and we get into that in the interview. But before that, guys, you know what we got to do here. A little bit of housekeeping. Listen, don't forget to rate, subscribe, whatever platform that you're listening or watching this on. All of it goes a super long way. Thank you for the growth. Thank you for continuing to support and show out. Listen, especially for those of you on Spotify. Listen, if you're not following us on Spotify, I want you to go to Spotify, follow it. You can listen to it there. You can drop comments. You can even watch the video on Spotify. I know my YouTube people was like, why would I go to Spotify to watch video? But listen, last year, Spotify started launching video podcasts. And so last year, we finished in the top 10 for video content on Spotify platform. We want to finish back in that top 10 this year. So make sure you go over to Spotify and check us out there as well. We appreciate all the love. Before we hop to the interview, there's some things that I want to talk about, right? And having this conversation with Brent about his journey to CISO. Listen, I've been thinking about this whole Chief Identity Officer position for the last couple of years, right? There's been different panels about it. Identiverse has been different articles written about it. And really talking to Brent and listening to his journey and his passion for it, but really also understanding how he takes what he does and applies it to his everyday life and helping to explain the certain things that he's doing from a security perspective to the board and gets buy-in, just keeps hitting home for me the things that we have to do in order to get ready to have a chief identity officer. I think we're still a long way away from that. We've done the chief information security officer, the CISO role, a disjustice over the last 3 decades, as we're just really now learning how to get that position comfortable at that true C-level suite, right? Security, IT has always been seen as this kind of thing on the side that we have to do in this cost center and all these things, instead of really being a business enabler. And I think that's on us because we didn't put enough onus on learning and understanding the business when we wanted to put people in that seat. We just wanted somebody to go and say, yes, security is yours. We wanted to report on all the cool stuff that we do and all the technical babble that we like to jump into, but that means nothing to the business. So as I think we're learning from a CISO position, how to get better at that and really connect with the business and show them that security is an enabler, we have to start doing the same thing in identity. So we got to start prepping our leaders now to learn how to speak business of identity, to learn how to measure things in identity. So that way we can set the ground. So when we finally do get a chief identity officer, we're putting those people in positions, they're ready, they understand how to talk to the business, and that position can hit the ground running because I do think it's coming. I just think we have a lot of work to do before we get there, because otherwise we're just going to have another position that steps up and they're just going to get all the blame for all the things that go wrong with identity, when we all know there's a lot of things that can go wrong with identity. It absolutely touches so many things within the organization. So listen, that's enough for this one. I want to get straight to this interview, this episode, because I really want you to hear from Brent and his story. We'll be back afterwards to talk a little bit more about some other things and some news that's going on. So check us out right after that. But for now, let's get you over to the interview. Everybody, welcome to this interview on the Identity Jedi Show. Got a special guest. I have been looking forward to this conversation. This gentleman and I met just under a year ago at a vendor dinner. At the time, he was getting ready to take on the position that he has now. But one of the things I loved about that intrigued me was his enthusiasm and joy for the CISO position and things of that nature. I was like, yeah, I got to talk to this. I got him up on the podcast. So it's just me this time. Samir's not with us, but that's not going to stop us from having a good time. You guys know what we do around here. So without further ado, let me bring in our special guest for this interview, Mr. Brent Hamilton, and I'll give you a chance to introduce yourself and tell everybody about what you do.
A company called Banking Transactions. Been with the company since November in the CISO seat, and been learning and loving every minute of it.
Yeah, man. So When we met, I remember you were just getting ready to take the position, or you were eyeing towards us. What really caught me was your enthusiasm for this position. I'm pretty sure you see a lot of people either going to be in that seat or in that seat that are just like, you didn't have any unicorn dreams or anything like that. You didn't have roses in your eyes. Like, you knew there were some tough challenges, but I love the fact that you were excited about it. So talk to me a little bit about that. Where did that kind of excitement and that passion come, for really kind of stepping into this position?
So part of it is really being able to own a program and help shape the cybersecurity and risk decisions that the company makes. Because ultimately, the CISO is no longer just responsible for cybersecurity. It's a lot of influencing and coordinating with risk. So understanding what risks are there, providing that risk to the company, because most companies now heavily rely on their IT systems. If there's IT system risk, it's a business risk.
Yeah, absolutely. I want to bring up one aspect of your background because it's important to acknowledge it. We talked in our pre-meeting, just your military background and what that brought to it. First of all, before we get to that, thank you so much for your service. I feel like people don't say that enough anymore, and we should, because I've had the privilege of growing up around a lot of military, like both in my family and friends. My best friend right now is still currently serving. He's almost close to retirement. But I know the sacrifice you guys make for us. So I appreciate you and your service. Is something I could never do, because once another man yells at me, that's pretty much it.
Thank you very much.
Talk to me a little bit about how that's helped shape some of the stuff with your career and really prepared you for some of the things coming in the private sector.
So military is different than the private sector. And it's polar opposites in a lot of ways. In the military, I was a warrant officer. I retired as a warrant officer, and my job was to be the subject matter expert on the network or the systems that we had at each location I went to. There is next to zero risk tolerance for the military. The budget is amazing. So if you needed to reduce risk, you found the tools or the tactics or techniques, people, processes, or technology to fix that risk. We didn't accept risk. And there was no profit being driven. So it was a completely polar opposite from the commercial world. You come out of the military, and I really had to do a complete 180 on how I thought about things. Now it was understanding the risk tolerance. So knowing what risks they want to. Some companies, large amounts of risks, startups for sure, accept a lot of risk because they don't want to spend a lot of money on something. And then understanding that it's an infinite growth profit margin. The goal is always to infinitely grow your profits. So it's just polar opposite from a military mindset. And that my job doesn't really change. I'm still advising on all the controls that we should have in place or could have in place, but then just actioning what the business decides we want to action on.
Yeah, I started my career adjacent to the military, working as a contractor to the federal government, which does a lot of work with the military. So I was always around it. I was listening to a podcast interview between director Ryan Coogler and Matt Barnes, former NBA player. And they were talking about how sports kind of sets you up it gives you these fundamental skills that kind of sets you up for success in other things. And the biggest thing is, like, if you strive to be successful at any level of sport, you got to put in the work. So What do you learn? You learn discipline, you learn grind, you learn what's the next thing, put it in front of me, I'll go tackle it again down. That's what I got to do to get better. Military, in a different aspect, kind of same thing, right? It's the task in front of me. Just get it done. I don't ask questions. I don't complain. Next task in front of me, get it down, right? Talk to me a little about how, like, have you seen that help you in your career and to be successful, where other people are just kind of like, oh, we got to do this. And you're just like, yeah, okay, well, here we go.
Yeah.
Like,
absolutely. But first, let me correct you. There is lots of complaining in the military. They do it quietly and under their breath, but they still complain. But it's really about you do what you're told, and you understand that the ultimate goal is to get the mission done, get the job done. The best example I can give of that is my first real role out of the military. It was a remote role. So I was working from home for the first time in my life back in 2015. And my boss, I was the first titled security role for the company. The boss kept coming at me and was like, hey, I need you to take over this. Hey, you identified this. Why don't you go ahead and take over that part too? And about 6 months in, he messages me and he's like, hey, do you have time for a conversation? Yeah, sure. What's going on? It's like, why don't you complain when I put all this stuff on you? I asked somebody else to stay late one night and they're bitching. I throw 10 extra jobs on you and you do them well. Like, I'm sleeping in my own bed at night. Nothing's blowing up around me. No one's gonna be shooting at me, unless I live in a bad neighborhood. I don't know, but nobody's gonna be shooting at me. And you can't affect me with a little bit of extra work. That doesn't stress me out. Right. We have different perspectives on stress.
Yeah, definitely, man. When I switched from working with agency organization to the private sector, it was awakening for me because my first job out of college was like working with the government, right? So to your point about, like, Yeah, secure. We're not accepting anything. Like it will be secure, and then we will do this. Like that. That's just how it's done, right? And coming into the private sector, where it's like secure. Yeah, we'll get to it. That mindset was so interesting to flip around and then bring some things and say, okay, listen, understand the mission is different here. Right. So the mission is to be profitable or sell more products, but still bring in some of that mindset of, okay, to do this, we need to tie in these initiatives. And how can we make sure these two things go together? One of those initiatives right now, of course, everybody's talking about it, is AI. And I know that you recently put something together around some general frameworks around like taking AI and introducing it to an organization. Talk to me a little bit about that and with our listeners about what your thoughts on that are and a little bit about the framework you put together and maybe how other CISOs or potential CISOs should be looking at this right now.
So it's a lot about educating your users, the leaders in the company, and in many cases, the board. In our case, our board was pushing for AI and having to step back and show them like, okay, if you don't have a good data governance program in place, if you don't have a good policy in place, if you don't have the ability to monitor what's going on with the AI, you're risking exposing stuff that will put you or somebody else in jail or cost lots of fines. You have to be able to control what AI has access to. You have to be able to monitor it's only doing what you tell it to do. And you have to do some user awareness training. So make sure that the users understand what they need to use it for, what they can't put in there. So you have to build a culture change. It's a bit controlling what data you have and identifying what sensitive data and what not sensitive data is and defining those guardrails for the AI. And then also doing some real risk assessments on the AI tool you want to use. Make sure it's not a shady one that was developed in some foreign country that's not friendly with us. That's not one you want to put in your system.
Right. Yeah, because trust me, it is happening. And central to that was you got to have some data governance. You got to understand what this is. And for me, as a old school computer scientist, and just I've always been beating this data drum, and nobody wanted to hear it. We produce this massive amount of unstructured data. And it's a mess to even think about how you put all this together. I'm a big proponent of AI. I see so much good that I can do both in business operations and creativity and efficiency. But, you know, it's the same thing we've said in tech, garbage in, garbage out. You can't take all of this information of just crap and go, I'm just going to stick AI in front of it and everything's going to be okay.
Because if there's any information that you should not put out and you don't know about it, I'll find it for you. And it'll put it out there. And it's public.
Right. And it will find it quickly. Listen, I think the awesome thing about it is, you know, I've been able to mess around with, you know, Amazon Q Business and doing some different things and, you know, giving it back in data sources. The speed at which it can correlate and find connections with the data is amazing, right? And it's gotten to the pack where it's literally point and click, which again, I love. But it's still, you have to lead to have these conversations like, okay, great. Here's all the data we want to put in it. Oh, super nice that we can search it and now we can correlate it. What's the data governance policy, right? Like, okay, where does David sit? Well, he's in product management. Should he have access to financials? Well, in a normal request, I would say no. But now he can use this chatbot and it goes, oh, sure, David, here's the financials that are coming up. Like, we have to really think about how are we going to work with this data? What does this data mean? Tagging it, label it, what's sensitive, what's not sensitive, right? And I think the AI tools being able to correlate is going to make it easier so we can see it and visualize it a little bit better. But we still got to have that due diligence of like, hey, we need to figure out what this looks like. Like, what does this path look like? And how do we create pathways where David is working on something, but he shouldn't have access to it. But for this use case, we don't want to stop the business from doing work. Now it's like access requests for data, right? Like, hey, should David have access to this? And you're like, oh yeah, that's cool. Maybe for just this week, right? It's going to open up this whole new thing.
And that's another big thing that leads back to the title of your podcast is identity is super important. Making sure the identity program is correct and has the correct roles and privileges assigned to each identity, because that's one of the ways you help put those guardrails in there.
Yeah, absolutely. I'm a nerd, so I'm loving the fact that we're having these conversations. People that are listening to this, don't let this deter you. Have the conversations, but you got to have them smartly. Use AI to help you bring some of these flaws out in the data and go, here's the stuff that we're seeing. How do we start putting something around this? I love the fact that you dove in and you're starting to put stuff together. You were the CISO that I think everybody would want to be. I really appreciate you. I love the enthusiasm you have for this job. Let's talk about that a little bit. What's the first year been like? What are some of the things that you stepped into and it was like, expected this, or like, oh, wow, this is a pleasant surprise, or this is a horrible surprise, but you got to do it anyway. However you want to share. What's that like? Take us back behind that window of what the first year has been like for you.
Had a fractional CISO in place. There's a part-time person doing basic functions, putting some basic frameworks in place. The way I described it to the CEO after my assessment was it was a just enough security program. We could pass our SOC audit, and it was just enough to be fine. I love the concept of a fractional CISO in certain cases, but to mature a program, they have to have some skin in the game. You have to have some kind of tie to the company, which is a full-time employee. I have some tie to the company with financial gains, and the better the company does, the better I can do. I want to make things go better. I looked at processes. I understand that I am a non-revenue generating function. I'm a customer. So I make sure that the things I do, I focus on people, process, and technology. The more stuff I can do with people and processes, and the less I have to buy technology, the better it's going to be overall for our bottom line. I've focused on streamlining activities that will help salespeople. We have due diligence questionnaires come in, and
nice.
The person previous to me was taking 1 to 2 weeks turnaround time for some of those. My first week there, I turned them around in 2 days. So just stuff like that to help streamline and accelerate the way the salespeople can do their job is a way I can provide value to the overall growth of the company. And it's going well, putting a lot of other processes in place. We've done some other maturing in the organization by just utilizing better the stuff we had if we purchased already. So doing that assessment of what all was there and utilizing it better.
Yeah. I love that you came in and it seems like just immediately looked at this and goes, okay, I realize where I'm at. Like you said, I'm a cost center. What's important to our company? Let me tie an initiative to that where I can show value back to the company quickly, right? That was, dude, I almost write a case study on this, right? That I tell people all the time, like, you're in security, you're in identity. You got to tie to what the business cares about. So I love the fact that you went and said, okay, here's this sales function I have a part in. What can I do to make that better? Like, not just security, but what can I do to make that better? And boom, I can turn around, change that process 1 to 2 weeks to 1 to 2 days. Now you're getting that turned around. Sales guys are happy. Sales gals are happy, which we know. You got to keep sales happy. Then they're selling products. As security practitioners, identity practitioners, we have to show up in business because, yes, we are a cost center, but then we show it's like this cost serves you, right? This is how we drive this back and get you better at your functionality securely. We're there to make sure that you can move as agile as you want to. We got your back, making sure it's secure. Dude, I absolutely love that. I preach that so much to people. You cannot come into this and be like, we got to do this because it's the right thing to do.
I absolutely sat down and talked to every department lead, talked to the businesses, understood what they did, figured out where their risks were, figured out what drives them, what actually generates revenue for them, and tried to help them understand ways that we can put other controls in place with processes to help streamline things. I'm building the enterprise risk program. There's an enterprise risk program it wasn't very utilized and it wasn't formalized. So I'm formalizing that to give better visibility of some of the risks. It's taking a company that was in startup mode and startup mindset to an enterprise mindset.
Talk to me a little bit about that, because changing mindset and perspective and really kind of changing culture can be hard. What's been your approach there around the conversation you've been having to help them see things a little bit differently?
It's a lot of education. Even some of the IT folks talking about building a change management program. There was a change management program in place, but sometimes they're just like, hey, we need to make this change real quick. What did you put in a change request for it? Or even retroactively put in a change request. We just need to document it. They're like, oh yeah, I forgot. Thanks. Just doing that reminder every now and then, because they've been so used to doing something a certain way, just adding those little reminders back. And it's like, hey, we need to try and standardize this stuff so everything is auditable and we can track what we're doing. It's really a lot about an education process. I'm not going to be the no person. I'm the, hey, yes, but. Yes, but. We can do that. Yes, but.
Right. Perfect. No, I love it, because you're right. We do want to move away from that. We had a guy on the show last season, Jamie Wallace, and he was adamant about that. As security people, we've got to get out of the habit of being the no person. We've got to get out of that so the business can stop looking at us like that. We actually want the business coming to us going, hey, we're thinking about doing this. Can you help us? Absolutely, we can.
And that's another thing I got from the military. I want to do this. And it's the same with business. I don't make business decisions. I give all the information to the person who does make the business decision, and then let them understand what the risks are and what controls we can put in place, and then go with whatever they decide. But I'm not a business decision maker. I'm an influencer. So it's the same thing with, I brought that from the military. I've always been a yes, but. Yes, but okay, yes, we could do that. But this is
Yeah, I love giving them business options. Absolutely. We can do that. This way costs you this much, this way costs you this much, right? Like, or we can do it this way, or we can do it this way. It's all about, to your point, we're going to get there. No problem. Let's just decide which way we want to get there. I really think that being successful, and I think you could apply this anywhere in the security field, right? Even down to like if you're network engineer, all the way up to, as you've been talking about in the CISO seat, that softer side of knowing how to influence, how to talk, how to connect with your business peers, digest things, give them back and lead them in directions is so key, right? I've seen that as the pillar of successful security organizations. Anytime I've talked to a leader, anybody working in an organization, they're accomplishing things, getting things done, there is somebody in that department who has learned that power of influence and goes, just like you said, I sit down with my business leaders, I ask them what's going on. We have conversations. And because of that, it's a working relationship. Hats off to you. Kudos for that.
It's that mindset of not going to somebody and challenge them, telling them you have to do it this way. Because if you come to somebody, most of these CISOs or CIOs and CEOs and COOs, they're pretty type A type personalities. And you come and tell them you have to do it this way. No, I don't. I'm going to do it my way. So
right.
Make things and give them all the information so they can make that decision you want them to make. Hey, I know you want to do it this way. So this is what we have to do to make it happen that way. Or you can do it this way. And like you said, that you can do this way or this way. And there's the cost associated with them and let them have that decision. But it's ultimately, they're going to say, yes, we're doing it anyway. So
when you present the options to people, even if they take the option you don't want them to take, right? So let's say we go option A, option B, and you really want them to go option A because it's more secure, better aligns to what you want to do from security goals, and it really helps the organization, but they want to go option B. You go, okay, cool. Doesn't quite get us what we wanted, but it still gets us there and go option B. When you present both and people have the option of both, even when they choose option B and you go, listen, no problem supporting you no matter what. If it goes the wrong way, right? You know what happens more often than not? They come back and go, hey, man, I know you told me option A, we went option B. My bad. It's not a big thing. They just come back and go, man, I really see what you're saying. We chose this option. We really should have went the other way. But okay, how can we fix this? And so it gives you that relationship to come back and go, right, wrong, or indifferent. We can go back and fix it. But the key is you got that relationship there, right? Yes. Because they felt like you presented them. The options were there. They felt like they were heard and you supported them no matter what.
Absolutely. The only problem you can run into is one of those leaders that's smart. Like, those couldn't be my only two options. I'm going to do something different. Okay.
They go, no, option 3. Wait, what?
I didn't put that on the table.
Yeah, all those leaders, which definitely makes that challenging. So one question I do have is like looking at everything, right? In the months to come, I feel like we're in a really exciting time in identity, but also like just security in general, right? We're seeing a ton of innovation. There's not been a time that I can remember, maybe probably early 2000s, right? It obviously dating myself here, but like the innovation boom that we're in right now in tech is just amazing. I mean, we are just seeing not only products mature rapidly, but like startups just come in. So we're seeing this really big boom in innovation. In the months ahead, what insecurity that you're seeing, what gets you excited, man? What are you looking at? This is really cool. This is going to be interesting to see how this evolves.
I've talked to quite a few startups from Israel. You get some of the former 8200 people that started up, and they do some of the most amazing things I've ever seen. There's a lot about data and using AI to help correlate and understand where your data is and identify what your data is, even things that I've never even thought of before. So that's something that is really caught my eye on some of these tools that are out there and some of the capabilities they have out there, because if they're able to do that, that means someone's done it in the past or somebody already has a tool that's done that. And if the good guys are doing that, the bad guys could probably be doing it too.
Yeah.
If they can do your data quickly. By the time it gets to us to use it commercially, it's already being used to attack us.
Absolutely.
So, I know it's a whack-a-mole type of situation where you chase the threat, but trying to find things that help innovate and get ahead of it are fun challenges for us.
Yeah. I think we will see a resurgence in data security, data governance type of thing. I want to say it was like 2010s, maybe, when like, I'm trying to think of the name. It was like Stealth Bits and there's like 2 or 3 other companies that were like really trying to preach that and push that. Data posture security management or data security posture management was a big thing. And we've seen this kind of wave and it always fell flat, mostly because you get into organizations and the scale was just too big, right? Yeah. Like you couldn't, there's no way to kind of really manage that. And so now with some of these tools and the ability to correlate data very quickly, I do think that's kind of like a secondary boon that's going to happen, that I haven't seen much. I'm starting to hear people talk about it. Glad we're having this conversation. And I'd be, just for my own research, like if you wouldn't mind like passing on some of those companies you talk to, because I would love to research and see what they're doing, because this is going to be pivotal with all the AI work that's going to happen. We already know it's going to happen. Being able to manage that data, I just don't see how we continue without that.
That's what's driving a lot of this resurgence in data classification, data governance is AI. Because like I said, that education process that we have to be doing to our leaders so they understand what actually needs to happen before we roll out AI in the environment to keep them from going to jail. And I always tell every CISO I've ever worked for in every position, every CEO I've ever worked for in every position, that my job is to keep your name out of the paper, you out of jail, and money in your pocket. So those three things are what I So if they understand what their data is before they roll out AI, then it's going to be much better for all three of those things not happening.
Yeah. Absolutely. Well, look, man, I'm going to be, really respectful for your time. This has been awesome. Like, you are officially welcome back on the podcast anytime. Just let me know. I want to end with this, right? Somebody watching this, looking to be a CISO one day. Just give me like the top 3 tips that you would tell them right now. Set this goal for yourself to get to where you are today.
The terms they use, because you can't come to an executive talking cyber jargon. Their eyes will gloss over and they'll ignore everything you say. So learn how to reword what you're saying in plain English, or tie it to their business terms that they already use so they will understand it. Find some broadening type assignments. I took a GRC role. I stepped down from leading a organization security program to a GRC role just to get that broadening, because it's super important to understand that all aspects of governance, risk, and compliance, everything we do is reducing risk or giving visibility to the risk so they can decide.
Yeah, because that is an option too. What was that like, the GRC role? I promise listeners, 5 more minutes, but we got to hear this. What was that like, stepping in and getting into GRC?
It was different because it was the first non-operational role I'd ever been in.
Mm-hmm.
I was like, I didn't even really have my email set up on my phone, because like the work was going to be there in the morning when I got there. It was total change of pace, a different environment, and the company had a different risk tolerance than I was used to and the way they dealt with risks. But it was really good to get some visibility into the OT environment as well, and doing risk assessments and understanding how that works in the grand scheme of cyber as well. So it was a great broadening opportunity for me to really round out my knowledge base.
What's the biggest thing you took from that experience?
Understanding the usefulness of frameworks. The frameworks are there, and they're a great tool to use to get a starting foundation for an actual security program. Everything from like doing a NIST assessment or lining up with ISO 27001, it does a good job of getting the basics knocked out for you and making sure you're doing the basics the right way. And then you can start planning the maturity of the rest of your stuff. But that gives you a good foundation for your security program.
Yeah. I'm a big frameworks guy. I won't say I necessarily follow them all the time, but it gives you a good place to start, right? That you can take and mold to what makes sense for your organization. I'm always like, use what's out there to help shape where you want to go. You don't want to have to always be creating everything from scratch.
And understanding what the purpose of that framework is. I was in an organization it was a payments organization. After I did my first assessment, I said, yes, your PCI environment, which is 35% of your network, was solid. It had 99% tool coverage, but those same tools we already purchased, we're using 20% coverage in the rest of our environment, the other 65% of your network.
Yeah. Awesome, man. Well, thanks so much for your time. This has been great. We're going to do it again. Everybody, that's this episode of the Identity Jedi Show. Make sure to like, rate, and subscribe, whatever podcast platform you are streaming this on. If you're watching on YouTube, like and a comment, all of it goes a long way, right? It helps keep the team going. They get motivated. They love to see it. Actually, it also helps us with some monetization issues. We'd appreciate it. It also lets us know what kind of content to give to you. Don't forget to subscribe to the Identity Jedi newsletter. Drops in your inbox every second Wednesday, 7 p.m. All the good stuff around identity to keep you informed. And we have blogs dropping every week, every Monday. So listen, we got all the content for you. We got great guests like this. He just dropped so much knowledge, but don't worry. He's going to be back. Brent, again, thank you so much. Have a great weekend. And that's it from us. Be good to each other. Be kind to each other. Love each other. We will see you on the next episode. All right, a big shout out to Brent for coming by the podcast and dropping some knowledge on us. It was a great conversation. And Brent, you are welcome back on the pod anytime. Thanks to you guys for listening and watching. And one last take before we let you go. When you're looking at life and you're looking at the positions that you have, one of the things that I really enjoy about the conversation with Brent is his enthusiasm for the job. Like I remember being at that dinner right before he was getting ready to take the job, and he was so excited because he'd been working for it and he was just ready to get to work. And listen, I get it. We all have the days where it's like, man, this shit just sucks, right? But that passion and that drive to really want to see something get accomplished that day and what you're doing, to bring that passion every day to your work, just really allows you to live and enjoy it. And I would tell you this, if you're in a position right now where you just can't bring that passion because it's not authentic to who you are, it's time to go look for something else. Life is way too short to be stuck doing something that you just don't love and you can't get excited about every day. The most precious resource we have in this world is time, because it's the one thing we can't get more of. We don't know how much of it any of us have. We're granted this very special gift of this time that we get that we don't know when it's going to expire. So use it. Use every second, every minute of it to make sure you're doing something that you love, that you're passionate about, that you can bring that excitement to. So little words of wisdom for you on that one. Also, be sure to check on your friends, all of them. Just because they're smiling doesn't mean they're always doing good. Be a friend. Tell somebody something nice. Send them that random text just because. So listen, we will see you guys on the next episode. You guys know what it is. Be good to each other. Be good to each other. Be kind to each other. Love each other. See you guys on the next show. I'm out.